lawyer or me?
Okay.
All right, just wait, guys.
I can look at the
All right, Unati, as you can see, there are quite a number of police vehicles that are leaving the home of Shadrack Sibiya at this particular stage. Shadrack Sibiya is with us here outside. Mr. General Sibiya, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We were under the impression that you were being arrested today, yet you're standing right in front of us. What's the story?
It happened at sunrise. Flashing blue lights cut through the cool air of Centurion as a convoy of tactical vehicles rolled up a quiet street. Heavily armed officers, members of Special Task Force, the National Intervention Unit, and crime intelligence teams, according to reporters, moved to secure a property. Within hours, electronic devices were gone. Phones, laptops, hard drives taken as evidence. The man inside the home, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya, until recently the Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, watched the operation unfold. What had once been the tools of his trade were now sealed in evidence bags. Shadrack Sibiya rose through South Africa's police ranks on the back of major investigations and a reputation for pursuing organized crime. He held one of the most senior crime detection posts in the SAPS, a position with national visibility and influence. That public record is simple: a high-ranking cop who for years stood at the front line of the state's fight against serious and organized crime. But the same biography contains fractures, past suspensions, public disputes with colleagues, and whispers of political interference. Those earlier controversies help explain how, by mid-2025, Sibiya went from a visible enforcer to an officer asked to step aside pending inquiry. On the 15th of July 2025, he was requested to take leave amid growing allegations of misconduct and interference in criminal probes. That administrative move set the stage for what followed. Throughout 2025, South Africa grappled with a crisis of public trust in policing. High-profile arrests, leaked audio, and media investigations exposed alleged networks of influence connecting criminal operators and some police insiders. One name featured repeatedly in investigative coverage and commission testimony: Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, described in reporting as a Pretoria-based security industry figure and alleged cartel boss whose dealings and alleged payoffs prompted significant scrutiny. Matlala's name appears across multiple news investigations and at public hearings. In court records and commission testimony, he is described as a figure who moved money and influence.
The person who complains that I procured spying equipment, it is his wife who procured those spying equipment.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, created to investigate higher-level police conduct and capture of state functions, and related reporting produced explosive allegations. In testimony and recordings published by outlets, Matlala is quoted making claims about meetings and payments to high-ranking police officials, and witnesses at the commission referred to interactions between Matlala and senior officers. These testimonies do not amount to court convictions on every claim, but they are part of the record-prompting probes and political fallout. Media coverage has pointed to recorded claims that Matlala said he had delivered cash to senior officers, and commission witnesses have described introductions between Matlala and certain officials. Those accounts have been widely reported and are now part of the public inquiry material. On the 9th of October 2025, reported across multiple outlets, a dawn operation was carried out at Sibiya's Centurion residence. Journalists on the scene reported officers presenting a search and seizure warrant, moving methodically through the property and confiscating multiple electronic devices. Sibiya and his lawyer arrived at the property as elements of the operation were already underway. Sibiya later told journalists he felt betrayed. Officials said the action related to allegations including corruption, defeating the ends of justice and money laundering, and that forensic teams would analyze the seized material. Those are the operational facts that reporting confirms. This was not the first time Sibiya had been at the center of controversy. Insiders recalled previous investigations and legal battles that left his reputation contested within the force. He had been suspended in the past over separate allegations. He had fought to clear his name. Those earlier episodes hardened divisions inside SAPS and created lasting enmities. Context that investigators, journalists, and analysts say matters when elite investigations unfold. The July 2025 request that he step aside crystallized those tensions into a formal administrative action that was visible to the public and the press. Reporting and commission materials link Vusimuzi Cat Matlala to multiple allegations of tender corruption, intimidation, and alleged contact with senior police figures. Several news investigations have documented Matlala's role in sponsoring events, providing services through companies linked to him, and, crucially, making recorded statements claiming financial exchanges with senior police. Some articles and audio-visual clips published by major outlets cite recorded claims that Matlala said he had handed cash to senior figures. Other witnesses at the Madlanga Commission reported introductions between Matlala and officials. These are published allegations, and witness statements now live in the public domain. At the same time, it must be stated clearly, allegations recorded in commission testimony or media interviews are not always corroborated by independent evidence in the public record. Matlala himself has been in court facing serious criminal charges, including attempted murder and related counts, and his own statements have been scrutinized and challenged in court. The presence of his name in media reporting and commission testimony was one of the triggers for intensified scrutiny of several senior police officials, but legal and forensic processes are still determining culpability beyond those published accusations. Investigators reportedly focused on phone records, encrypted communications, and unexplained financial flows. Forensic teams began extracting data from seized devices. Specialized units combed bank and property records for signs of unaccounted wealth or suspect transactions. Multiple outlets described the probe as sensitive and potentially explosive, and they reported that other officers had been questioned or were under administrative review. Those press reports emphasize that the probe spans more than one household, and that it is part of a broader inquiry into capture and collusion claims within SAPS.
I'm sitting with a situation where if there was anybody, if today I can stand up and go and call that press conference. I also used, at some point in my life, I also wore camouflage uniform. Maybe I should also wear one, go make a conference as well and talk things. But I will be fired from the podium same time.
The fallout went beyond policing. Political leaders, parliamentary committees, and civil society groups monitored developments closely. Some politicians called for full transparency and swift action. Others warned against the misuse of investigations for factional purposes. The Office of the Police Minister and parliamentary committees were involved in oversight and inquiry processes, and the story fed into national debates about state capture, tender corruption, and the independence of law enforcement institutions. That is the political frame in which the Sibiya raid and the Matlala testimony must be read.
Like this. I know they want to push me out. I will never resign. You must fire me.
Sibiya has publicly denied wrongdoing and described the seizures as part of a campaign to push him out. Following the raid, he told reporters he would not resign and vowed to fight the allegations. His legal team said they would challenge aspects of the process and review the materials seized. Those public statements, recorded in multiple interviews, show a man prepared to contest both the narrative and the legal consequences. At the same time, journalists and investigators caution that public denials are common in high-profile probes while the forensic work continues. After the raid, the street outside Sibiya's home remained a place where lines were drawn, loyalists who spoke for him in private, and critics who saw long overdue accountability. Media footage and reporting captured lawyers, aides, and members of the public making statements and speculating about motive. Parliament and oversight bodies advanced hearings and questions. For ordinary citizens, the spectacle was another moment of dismay, one more sign that the state's guardians were themselves not immune to scandal. This episode is emblematic of a larger collapse of public trust in policing institutions that has unfolded across multiple cases. Commissions, raids, and court cases have exposed the porous boundaries between state procurement, private security, political patronage, and organized crime. The Sibiya raid sits at the intersection of those forces: a senior cop, administrative leave, media investigators, and an alleged security industry figure whose name now appears across hearings and reporting. How the forensic evidence and the courts decide will determine whether this becomes a defining conviction or another unresolved scandal. After the initial flurry of headlines, formal public updates slowed, a common pattern while forensic teams and prosecutors build cases. Sibiya's public posture remains defiant. His legal team has signaled challenges to process and procedure. For the public, the story is a test. Will accountability yield transparent conclusions, or will complex institutional fights obscure the truth? The answer will shape South Africans' faith in the rule of law. As dawn breaks over Pretoria and Johannesburg, another day of hearings, forensic analysis, and political theatre will begin. The raid at Sibiya's home was a visible act, but the invisible work of investigators and judges may prove decisive. In a country long haunted by questions of capture and collusion, the question remains: will the evidence speak clearly enough to separate proven wrongdoing from political warfare? For now, the cameras are tuned to sequence and claim. The devices taken that morning wait in forensics. The record will be written not in op-eds, but in downloads, bank statements, and court transcripts. And as the sun rises again, the question echoes: who will be next when the hunters become the hunted, and will any of them finally answer in court?